Please on.
I want to appeal to the younger generation and the youth out there protesting, because their security is important. And in the face of infiltration and by miscreants who have tried to hijack some of these protests and give the entire protest a bad image, it is important that I make this appeal, that a consideration is given for moving this protest from protest to action. Some of these demands will take time. There are processes that must take place. Some of these demands need administrative responses. Some of them need legislation. Some of them need executive orders where necessary. All of this will take time. We live in a constitutional democracy. These processes cannot be usurped or bypassed. It must take time. But I think that the youth of this country have been heard. The agenda is clear. Government has taken note. Government has gone to work. And I think that by having a monitoring team, we can have the youth hold government at all levels accountable, particularly on the demands that have been made and other issues tangential to their aspirations as the younger generation of this country.
Thank you.
That's the first time you smiled today. And as far as it's concerned, it's important to allow the younger generation to exercise their freedom to protest. He did say that such protests must be in a peaceful manner. Of course, he's worried about some of the exceptions to the peaceful nature of the protests. And for him, it's important that these protests are properly guided. He thinks that the right of the youth to protest peacefully. And he said part of the demands that were made was to make sure that those protesting are protected and that any police officer that has, in one way or the other, attacked any protesters be brought to book. So the president thinks it's a fundamental right. He thinks so long as the protests are peaceful and focused, and that when the protests started, they came forward with demands, and as a president, he has been responsive to demands put forward by the protesters. The president believes that the youth of this country, to a very large extent, are law-abiding. They are young people that have dreams. They have young people that have expectations of government and the society, and they have a right to demand for certain things, which is why he is right now a very attentive ear to the demands of the youth. On engagement, I think that conversation with the Nigerian youth has since started. The first level is that they were able to get their demands across to government, and government was able to respond to those demands. Even Mr. President spoke directly on Monday, calling for condemning the killings, particularly the extrajudicial killings that have occurred before, police brutality, and also approving investigation and the need to prosecute and bring the guilty to book. That's one level of conversation, because there's a communication and there's a response. Different government levels have also been having conversations. Last week, Friday, I had a virtual town hall meeting in which we had the police PRO and myself engaging with over 145 youth online, where they asked numerous questions. We provided updates, we provided clarity, and also the police was able to give further details about how the reforms are proceeding and will proceed, in some cases with clear timelines about how these reforms will take place. That is another level of conversation and engagement. But also we know that at some point we're going to have the leaders and the faces of this group. But I think the demands of the youth are largely out in the public. The government is addressing itself to these demands. And I think that itself, it's a dialogue and a conversation.